I don't know how to go about doing this episode today. I had a very big announcement that I was supposed to be making today. However, after the thriller, the jaw dropper that was the Sao Paulo Grand Prix this past weekend, I think I'm going to rather push the announcement for this coming weekend, seeing as though we are going to be having a break again from racing for another 3 weeks or so until we get to the last triple header for the year and we end off the season for 2024. Welcome back to another episode of the Lavesh Pillay Show. Now, I must tell you, the Sao Paulo Grand Prix was something extremely unexpected. Nobody could have foreseen what happened. I don't know what the hell happened. Things just got out of control. Now, Saturday's qualifying got pushed to Sunday morning, which has happened 5 previous times in F1 history in all of the years that F1 has been going, with the last one being in Japan in 2019. So, yeah, it wasn't that long ago. It was about 5 years ago. But, yeah, it did happen. It really did happen. Now, this meant that if anything happened during the qualifying session, it would give teams a limited amount of time to fix or repair their cars and get it ready for the main race on Sunday afternoon. Now, in an extra twist, the main race got moved about 45 minutes prior to its original start time as well. Or was it 1.5 hours? I can't entirely remember. There was just so much going on in this Grand Prix. The qualifying alone had so much of action. We had in the 3 sessions for qualifying, we had 5 red flags. Yeah, 5 red flags. It's unbelievable. It was crazy. Now, obviously, the qualifying got rained out on Saturday because of rain, and the rain kept on going throughout Sunday for the main race for qualifying, and that is what resulted in all of those red flags. A lot of drivers kept on losing control, their cars slipped out, and they ended up in the barriers. Now, that was for all 5 drivers. It was quite interesting to see. Now, the drivers that got or that ended up into the wall were Fernando Alonso, Alex Albon, Lance Stroll, Carlos Sainz, and Franco Colapinto. Now, for Franco Colapinto, it wasn't entirely unexpected. It was his first time driving in the rain in a Formula One car. He is new to the entire F1 scene itself, being behind one of those wheels. So that was entirely expected. We couldn't say too much about that. But now Fernando Alonso, Alex Albon, Carlos Sainz, and Lance Stroll, they all have experience, and this just goes to show you how slippery the track was. Now, keep in mind that the track was resurfaced before this Grand Prix, so the grip wasn't entirely there. So this also resulted in a bit of a more slippery track for the drivers. Now, if you can hear some thunder in the background, please excuse that. We have been having a heat wave this weekend, but it does seem like we're going to be getting some storms, just like how it was in Sao Paulo. So, yeah, excuse that noise in the background. There's nothing I can do about it. It's the weather. Okay, just like with the Grand Prix, there's nothing we could do about it. Speaking of the weather, though, things got so crazy in Sao Paulo. People always say that it's very unpredictable weather. So, teams actually had physical team members around the track spotting for bad weather. They weren't only trusting the radar, and I can see why. I mean, if it got so bad that we had to actually cancel or postpone the qualifying race, that says a lot. Now, one thing that we were a bit concerned about is what would happen if the qualifying on Sunday morning got rained out as well. Now, according to talks and what I have heard, what I've read and things, we would have stuck to the qualifying positions for the sprint race, which happened on Saturday morning. Well, the qualifying for the sprint happened on the Friday, but yeah, it would have probably been that qualifying lineup that would have stuck. And I'm sure some of the drivers would have been pretty happy with that. But again, we did end up having a qualifying session on Sunday morning, or this morning, seeing as though I'm recording on Sunday. But yeah, things were unbelievably crazy. Now, this weekend also saw Max Verstappen take a 5-place grid penalty for the main race after he did some power unit changes on his car. Now, this is the sixth time that he is doing power unit changes, and this after the qualifying session on Sunday morning, it left him starting at a 17th place. Now, that says a lot, especially if you've already seen the headlines and you know that Max has won the Grand Prix, the Sao Paulo Grand Prix. So he started from 17th, moved all the way to first, and that's how the race ended. Now, in a twist of events, I know I'm jumping a bit ahead before I get into what actually happened in the race itself as well, but the two Alpines came out second and third. Now, yeah. That's a shocker. It's been many, many years. Now, once the team finished second and third, once Ocon came out second and Gasly came out third, you could see the team cheering. They were going crazy. They were screaming, shouting. They were all excited. Now, for a team, it says a lot to be extremely excited about second and third. Now, the Alpines have had quite a massive drop in performance over the past few years, and this was something big for them. They did keep a very great race. Now, they have to say thank you to the safety cars and the red flags that popped up in the main race as well. We did have some cars crash out. We saw some red flags, we had some yellow flags, and we had some safety cars, virtual and actual safety cars, throughout the main race. It was extremely wonderful to see all of this action. However, we are extremely grateful that all of the drivers came out without any injuries. We do know that Fernando Alonso was complaining about his back, but that was not due to a crash. That was actually due to the bumps. He said that the car was rather bumpy and he was suffering a bit. And seeing as though he was one of them that crashed out in qualifying, his car was back to normal. He managed to race, and he was extremely thankful to the engineers and the mechanics, hence why he actually finished the race despite the back pain that he was suffering. Now keep in mind as well, he is rather old these days. He is the oldest driver on the grid. This was his 401st Grand Prix. The main race had massive red flags. It was crazy. The rain was there. It was getting extremely rough out there for the drivers. They couldn't see. The visibility was extremely poor. The visibility was extremely poor for us as well, watching from home. So you could just imagine, with the spray coming from the other cars in front of the drivers, how it must have been. Together with the dirty air with being behind those drivers, it definitely did affect performance in multiple ways. So yeah, a lot of teams were quite happy though with the safety cars or the red flags, as well as they had a bit of a chance to do some tire changes and take a bit of a break from the tiring race, the strenuous race that it was in Sao Paulo due to all of the rain and things. One of the other big things that did happen in the main race was that Nico Hulkenberg got a black flag. Now, it's very rare these days to actually get a black flag, or for a driver to get a black flag. And a black flag means that the driver is disqualified. Now, Hulkenberg got disqualified as his car spun out. He was on the side of the track, and some marshals came to touch his car, and they pushed it a slight bit. And then he ended up joining the race again. Now, it is forbidden for marshals or anybody else to touch the car anytime during the race, unless they do make their way to a pit stop where the team can touch the car to do the tire changes or the front wing change or anything like that. But because marshals touched the car, this resulted in a black flag and he did get disqualified. Now, that is it for this week. I thank you so much for listening to this episode. My name is Lavesh and you are listening to the Lavesh Pillay Show.